Warrel.
Yes, it is.
Oh, awesome. This is Jeff Olson from the Heady Metal Show. It's great to talk to you. My first question to you would be, rather than my last question, I usually ask, what would you like to say to all the metal, internet listeners out there? This is an internet radio show, metal. And what would you like to say to the world right now? You can vent, or you can, praise and thanks, and then we'll get into some meat of what's going on with you right now, and then we'll also try and get some history of what you went through on all of your records. So, what would you like to say to the metal world out there right now at this time?
Well, the first thing that comes to my mind, I guess, is prepare for the assault of the new sanctuary, and it's turning out so fucking awesome. It's not funny. Exceeding my expectations, and I guess you can't ask for more than that.
Well, that sounds very powerful. Anybody that you're working with this? Is it just started, or how long have you been working on this?
We've been working on songs for a while. Lenny Rutledge, the guitar player, he lives up kind of in the mountains outside of Seattle, and Jim and I have been driving up there every weekend, staying at his little compound up in the mountains, and he's got a barn that's got a bunch of music gear in it, and we just jam and work on ideas, and it's turned out really cool.
That sounds great. Any ideas when that will be coming out, or is it just too soon to ask you that kind of a question?
It's definitely not going to be until 2012. I mean,
yep.
We haven't picked a producer yet, and we're working on the record deal. It's pretty close, I guess, and I'm just going to take it from there. We've got a couple shows coming up too. We're playing Friday night at Prague Power Fest in Atlanta. That should be fun. I've never been to that, and I keep hearing how great it is. Then we've got a couple shows in Greece, which is something I'm really looking forward to, because Greek fans are insane. They're just nuts. Some of the best metal fans in the world.
Definitely.
Have you played there before?
Yes, I have. We after seeing you guys and I guess Doro in the airport in Amsterdam, we were flying down to Athens for our first time there, and wow, dude.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
It's an experience, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you can't believe you're there in the first place, freaky hotels that you can almost touch from, your window in an earthquake zone is kind of bizarre for me. Out here in the East, we don't have those. Maybe you're used to it out in the West Coast, but...
Yeah.
Hey, let's do this. So you got some shows there. We'll definitely pump that up. And to you, do you have any hard feelings at this point? There's no breakup. You're just reinventing right now. Are there any things you want to say about your other bandmates right now? Were there tough situations? What happened? Can you tell us that in a nutshell without it being a bummer?
Well, first of all, everybody in Nevermore always has drank way too much when we're on tour. It might be me one day, it might be somebody else another day, but it's been an ongoing problem. And in 2005, I tried to sober the band up, and nobody really was ready to do that. And it's hard not drinking when everyone else around you is drinking like crazy,
Yeah.
It's a rough thing, but I wish those guys the best of luck. I'm just, still a little upset about the way it all went down, but, shit happens.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, it would be a tragedy if you gave up and Jim, and you're not. And now we get to still continue on and listen to great, great, great metal. I think you're one of the... I got to get a little flattering because of how intense and how technical and amazing you guys are. Your vocals are really awesome, and I want to ask you some questions about that. I mean, Nevermore is an outstanding vocal group. A lot of people hearing the singing, it would compare to classical music. How do you, let's ask you a musical question, how do you go about harmonies? Do you write a melody when you're writing your lyrics and say, I'm going to harmonize this at the 6th, I'm going to harmonize this at the 5th, or do you just, let's track some and let's do comps? How does your vocal process go when you record?
Well, when I'm writing, I always come up with the bass vocal line for the whole song, and then just listen to it all back and decide where harmonies should go. And then once I do that, then I just fuck around with different harmonies, and maybe multiple ones. So
sure,
it's just kind of a try it out and see what happens kind of process for me.
It sounds like timbre too, like voice controls, like when you get into your monster, thing that you do to emphasize something. Like just heard something on the Obsidian Conspiracy where it ends with this just monster vocal after singing. Very, very downtrodden, awesome sound. Man, it scared the shit out of us listening to it last night. Incredible, bro, just incredible. Did you study? Let's talk about that. Your childhood. Have you always been out in Seattle area? And were you in band? Did you study melody, rhythm, drums, or did you do any musical things before just singing? What was your whole way of getting here today?
Well, I started out playing guitar actually, and I was playing in a cover band. We were doing stuff like Black Sabbath and Michael Schenker.
Awesome.
And we couldn't find a singer. And so eventually, I think it was the drummer I was playing with in that band, convinced me to try singing. So I started singing, and that's kind of how it all started. I eventually put down the guitar and just focused on singing. And I used to be a pretty good guitar player, but I can't really play for shit anymore. Just because I haven't done it in so damn long. But yeah, that's how I got into being a singer. But and then I decided I had to take voice lessons.
Wow.
Because I didn't think I was that good, and I wasn't at first. A lot of people think that, I don't need any training, I don't need lessons, I'm just great the way I am, but that's just not true. You can learn so much from taking proper training, and I ended up taking classical opera lessons really early on, and I think that was because my dad was always playing opera records when I was a kid.
Wow.
He was so into it, and he had this gigantic collection of opera records, and actually when he passed away, I kind of inherited them. I've got them tucked away somewhere. Still have a record player. But anyway, I took lessons for about 5 years, and actually recently I've gone back to take some more just to kind of, freshen up. But I think, my dad also, he was a singer. He sang in the church choir. Mm-hmm. He was a bass, and he would sing around the house all the time too. So that kind of turned me into the direction of singing too.
Very cool. It sounds like you're taking it serious. Any ear training in that, like the singing of intervals and and sight singing and that kind of stuff too, or?
Yeah, it's pretty much everything. My voice teacher, my first one, was just so cool. She was a little eccentric. She did some weird things, like make me
hold your breath for 20 minutes.
No. It was like standing on my head against the wall and teaching me diaphragm exercises. I think that's pretty unconventional, and maybe she was a little crazy, but she was really good.
That became your warm up before most of the German shows.
No, no standing on the head for warm ups now. But the only thing I really do for warm ups is yodeling.
Wow.
And that's another thing she taught me that I just thought was strange as fuck. But I figured out that if I just, it's not real yodeling, it's just like yodeling in scales and stuff. And,
yeah.
but it really helps. I know that if I can't do that, then I'm not going to have a good show.
Wow.
But if I can pull off the yodeling, I know that my voice is going to be okay for the show.
That is totally cool information. That's the stuff I love to ask. And
it is kind of weird, though.
It totally is weird. One cool thing, Warrel, is you're probably the second person who's really reads right now. Then who reads music that I've asked, and dude, a whole year of shows. You and Carrie Kelly from Alice Cooper, who he plays guitar with Alice Cooper, is one of the lead guitar players, and he reads. It's like I want people to read, out there. So maybe that'll be my little gripe eventually on the air. So awesome! You are a great influence in many people's lives, I think, that are out there. Have you ever been hassled to do something different in your history with Nevermore? Like, don't do this, record labels, push the other way. Have you ever had a conspiracy sort of thing, and you're like, you just stuck to it and you kept your guns, and now that's why you're so intense and tight? Anything like that ever happen?
Well, yeah, I remember way back in the early days, when Nevermore was, we were still under contract at Epic Records because, with the old Sanctuary contract, and they kept Jim and I under contract until they decided to pass on it, which took fucking forever, and tons of goddamn demos and tons of pressure to sound a certain way. The classic line was when the A&R guy that we were working with at Epic said, "Frankly, I expected something grungier. Do you think you can do that?" And that was very confusing because, all of the demos that we did, like 3 sets of demos and submitted them to Epic, and none of them had any even remote grunge quality to them. So we were a little shocked and basically just said, well, no, we're not going to go grunge just because you think it's going to, sell more records right now. The door's already closed on that.
Yeah.
Everybody that made it is going to be where they are. And nope, the trend is over, dude. And he just kept pushing for it. And basically we just said, well, no, we're not going to do that. Either you want us or you don't. This is the way we are. This is what we sound like. And then it just took, and then they never said, no, we don't want to keep you under contract. It just took, our lawyer had to give them some kind of 30-day notice or something to either exercise our contract option or let us go. And or it was 90 days, something like that. And I think it was exactly the last day they called up our lawyer and said, yeah, we're going to pass. Thanks for making us wait. Then I think a month later we had to deal with Century Media.
Mm-hmm.
So we definitely did stick to our guns, and I think that if we had listened to what that guy was saying and just followed the trend, that we wouldn't be here right now. So we definitely made the right decision.
Let's make you do this. I've done this with many people. I make you go through your discography for studio albums and just quickly say something that first comes to your head, like "oh shit," or like "the cars blew up," we were in a storm, or just some kind of cool history that involves, and we'll start with Nevermore 1995. What could you say about that in a nutshell?
Well, the first release was basically 2 sets of demos that we did with Neil Kernan, and we didn't really expect it to be the final album, but once Century Media got into it, they just said, you don't need to record these songs again. I mean, this sounds like album quality already, so it's just no waste money. We're like, okay, yeah. We just remastered it after that, and that's, that first record was our little baby.
That's cool.
And we basically paid for all of the recording of that on our own. We were working hard, working day jobs, and we all the recording by ourselves. So that worked out pretty cool that ended up being the final product.
Definitely. Let's go to the next one, The Politics of Ecstasy. And here's where we kind of were neighbors with you there with Trouble on our little Plastic Greenhead record.
Yeah, we were all doing some crazy things back then. There's a reason why the artwork in the CD booklet is all trippy, if you get my meaning. And that was the first time that we went to El Paso to record at this studio called Village Productions. I think they changed the name now, though, but it's this great little studio that's in the middle of, it's really close to the border of Juarez, and it's kind of scary, but it's in the middle of the desert, and it's just a world-class studio, and then this whole house, well, it's actually a hacienda. Each band member gets their own room, and they have these fun Mexican ladies that cook all your food for you, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They do all your laundry, and that place was just a great place to create, and we had a great time. I think we drove over the border to Juarez to buy tequila. I don't know how many times. At the end of at one point we counted 19 bottles of tequila that we'd consumed in a couple weeks, and it was dangerous because tequila, when you go over the border to Juarez, tequila is like $4 or $5 for a liter. Oh. So we were all stocking up, and it was a mistake because we did some crazy stuff. There was one time I had a fireplace in my room. I didn't know that it didn't work, and I tried to light a fire, and I almost burned the building down. And yeah, that was some happy memories. That was when Pat O'Brien was with us, and I remember, he ate the worm in a couple of the tequila bottles, too. I could never do that. But, yeah, the studio's, I think it's haunted, too, because it was built, I don't know how long ago, but it's a pretty old building. Anyway.
It's definitely filled with spirits.
Oh, yeah.
All right, that's The Politics of Ecstasy. How about Dreaming Neon Black? Same place, or you're like, we're not going back there, guys?
No, we recorded that there as well.
Wow.
And we just loved it there so much because it's in the middle of nowhere. You can't even. You could ride a bike to get to a little 7-Eleven type store that it was maybe 3 or 4 miles away, but that's how far off it was. And it was great working there because you could just disconnect. Mm-hmm. There was no outside, things that could distract you. If we would have, recorded in Seattle, all our friends would show up, girlfriends, whatever. It would have been, not as good of a work environment, I think. So that's why we always liked going out there. But that record, is really special for me too, because it's about an old girlfriend that disappeared, ended up joining a cult, and later, they finally found her body years and years and years later. But I kept having dreams about her being drowned somewhere, and that's what inspired the whole storyline for
the dreaming.
For that record. Yeah.
Yeah. And is that how she died then? Is she drowned? I mean, or did you know about that? I mean,
we're really not sure. I think so, but they found her buried somewhere.
Jesus, that's huge, dude. That's heavy.
And she had a husband that this church group had picked for her. She married the guy. He disappeared as well, and his body has never been found.
God.
It's just a creepy story, I guess. That's actually my favorite Nevermore record.
Wow. And that's Dreaming Neon Black.
Yes.
Awesome stuff, man. I'm telling you, it's so fucking heavy. All right. Dead Heart in a Dead World. What's going on there, man?
Once again, we went to El Paso to record there. This time with Andy Sneap. That was our first,
Wow.
Our first working thing with Andy, and that was.
Now I think a Skyclad.
Yeah, that was fun. We were a little more even laid back on this one. We recorded that one without a second guitar player, and so it went pretty damn smooth because Jeffrey in the studio, he's very precise. He's like a machine.
Yeah.
He works very quickly, and so that one didn't take as long. Trying to remember any good stories from that.
Did you try to eat the worm?
No. I think we had our tequila lesson on the record before that. So, yeah, on politics, we had our tequila lesson, so we just didn't do it again. The owner of the studio, God, used to scare the crap out of us because he had these really fast cars, and he would drive down the freeway, getting into it, downtown El Paso, going about 150.
Oh my!
He had all the gadgets, the spy gadgets, to see if there was cop radar anywhere. And that was fun. That's my fondest memory, was driving way too fast.
In Dead Heart in a Dead World.
This is another good, this crazy story. Where the studio is, it's so close to the border that we'd hear things in the middle of the night, like
gunshots.
People driving really fast through the property, and I guess it was drug runners. And one time, we had a van that we'd rented, and Tim Calvert. This was during the Dreaming Neon Black recording. Tim Calvert was driving. We were coming back from El Paso on the freeway, and a fucking car was going the wrong way on the freeway.
Oh.
So fast, it was crazy, and he just pulled out and avoided a head-on collision just by the skin of our teeth, and we were all so freaked out. And the first thing we thought was, oh my God, it had to be a drug runner. But anyway.
That's great, man. This is so weird. Wow. This is the weirdest descriptions I've ever heard of records. This is great because it's all going back to the same studio. That's your thing. Wait, is this your favorite part of this?
I love that studio. It's great. It's awesome. And Dead Heart was the last one we did there, though. So.
Okay, and that will lead us into the new Enemies of Reality. Huge records.
Yeah, that one, that was when we were going through contract renegotiations with Century Media, and it was our last record in that contract. And they wanted us to re-sign before we did that record. Mm-hmm. And we were thinking, well, every record that we put out has sold more than the last one, so we're not going to re-sign until we do the last one in the contract and see how it does, and then maybe we'll have, more leverage to get a little better deal, And they're keen on that thinking. So they kind of hacked our budget, and we recorded in Seattle. But
you were punished, you're saying?
Well, I'm not sure I would say it was punishment, but it's just, industry games, how that works. Mm-hmm. And we recorded in Seattle with Kelly Gray, who, he was in Queensryche for a while, and he'd been producing things like he produced that, those candle box records, and those did really, really well for and Kelly had a really interesting style of producing and, recording vocals and everything. I know a lot of people say that the original recording of that sounds like crap, but that's just, that's his style, I guess. People were used to the really clean, clear production that Andy Sneap did. And eventually, after we did re-sign with, that's why Andy Sneap remixed it, because they wanted him to clean it up. And it's funny because I read things on the internet how people think the original version is way better, and some people think the remix that Andy did is way better, but I don't know. I can't really be objective because I'm too close to it. But
sure.
Yeah, but we recorded that at Kelly's house. Wow. He had a studio in his home. And it was really laid back, easygoing, and fun. It just cost a lot of gas to drive out of Seattle to get to his place.
Yeah. Oh, man. All right, the Godless Endeavor, 2005 now. We're looking there.
Okie dokie. That would be the first. Well, first of all, we recorded that at Andy's studio in England, in
awesome.
Derbyshire. And that place is haunted, for sure. It's definitely haunted. No, really. The farmhouse that we stayed in was separate from the studios, and I would hear weird things at night, and Andy's girlfriend and his mom both talked about how people experienced weird things when they were there, and Helen, Andy's girlfriend at the time, told me that people had heard the chairs in the kitchen scraping across the stone floor. And I didn't believe her. I thought it was just, okay, whatever. And one night, the night, I heard, because the room I was in was right over the kitchen, and I heard, a chair moving, and I'm like, okay, somebody's in here fucking with me. So I ran downstairs. Nobody's there, but the chair was pulled out from where it was. Okay, somebody's messing with me. I don't know who it is, but went back upstairs, and then, of course, I couldn't go back to sleep. About 30 minutes later, I heard it again. Ran downstairs. Once again, one of the chairs was moved. I'm like, okay, I'm starting to believe this, but who knows? Who knows? But I guess the farmhouse, the history dates way, way back, and there was like an entire family of women that inherited the thing. And I think that the spirits were definitely female. And eventually I wrote a song about that was on Obsidian Conspiracy.
Oh, wow. So it transferred over to the next record and stuff.
Yeah.
Godless Endeavor really, to me, does a lot. You know, it helps me get through work, brewing beer, and, you know, having fun. I just love my life, and that record is part of my life. And it's weird, the stuff that you write is, like, heavy, like... My favorite, I think, is, you know, just no suffering. You know, when you, oh my God, it's just some good music, bro. Gets me through the day.
Yeah, we put our heart and our soul into that thing.
I think you guys have always done that, which is wild. I don't think there's been too much messing around or being lazy in this group, you know, and any groups that, you know, that you guys have all been part of. I think you can definitely hear earnest power, and, you know, we're doing something here. Like, this is, you know, that happens only with rare groups. You know, it happens with, you know, Deep Purple. They worked hard. You know, it wasn't, hey, all right, we're done. Let's just, you know, stop now. You know, I mean, you definitely, there's a work ethic involved in your group. I can tell. It's pretty awesome. Now, lastly, the Obsidian Conspiracy. And then we'll do some closing stuff here. What would you say about that last record? Holy frick, man. We were listening to the sound last night. I don't know. You guys just have, you know how to get some punch in our face stuff, man. It's
yeah, that was the one we did with Peter Witchers. Great guy. Great producer. I really, really liked working with him on my solo record, because he really had the ability to make me sing better, and that's why, you know, eventually we decided to try him, and he's a guitar player, so that, you know, with Nevermore, it's important, to pay attention to the guitars. So that's why Andy worked so well with us.
Yes,
he's a guitar player.
Great guitar player.
That's why Peter worked so well with us, and we went out to North Carolina and rented a house on this place, what the name is it? No, it's Lake Norman. That's what it was. And we just turned it into a studio and had a lot of fun, a lot of drama, too. But it was
conspiracy.
Still fun. And I wrote all the lyrics for Moonrise one night when it was a full moon.
Wow.
And I was sitting outside while Jeff was tracking guitars, and I just came up with all the lyrics. It was very inspirational for me anyway, because I'm really attached to water, and just seeing the gigantic moon setting over the lake was just really, really cool. And ran and got my notepad and just wrote down all this gibberish, and it turned into a song.
Awesome. Well, man, I've got to tell you that this has been great chatting with you. I'm sorry to keep you so long. I usually am. Most
okay.
People, we try to not maybe go as long. For some reason, we're just casually chatting about stuff, album by album. For me, I just needed to hear this from you. I didn't, know half this stuff. Let's start again with that internet question. What would you like to say lastly as a concluding, statement to everyone out there in the world, the listening world for you? And, it could be about Sanctuary. And is Sanctuary those dates we talked about, or is it Nevermore in Greece?
It's Sanctuary. I'm focusing on Sanctuary right now. Cool. Just until we get all the songs written, get recorded, and line up some touring stuff or whatever. That's going to be my focus. So I guess what I have to say is very simple. 4 words. Nevermore is not dead.